USC goes to Seattle, knocks off Washington 26-13, and the dominoes continue to fall. We bring in Nick Dempsey from Conquest Chronicles. And Nick, we talk USC football once or twice a week, and I don't think either one of us would have seen this kind of performance coming several weeks ago. We have seen the improvement, and now they go to a team that's humming on offense, defense, in every way, have the rabid fan base, the hostile crowd, the environment, and USC goes in there and outplays them from start to finish.
Yeah, USC was on a winning streak. Those were mostly at home. Coming into this game, Clay Helton was 3-7 on the road. Washington was putting up 48 points a game. This game was in Seattle, which is a terribly difficult place to win a football game if you're on the road. So there was improvement, and you thought maybe, they'll be able to compete. But I actually had USC losing by like 8-11, not the other way around. But they came out, and this USC defense is red hot. For all the talk about Darnold and what he's been able to do, and he's been able to do some great things, but for the third straight week in a row, the USC defense has kept the opposing offense to their lowest point total of the season. And we're not talking about the Oregon States and the Arizonas of the world here. We're talking about Cal, we're talking about Oregon, and we're talking about previously fourth-ranked Washington. Washington was scoring 48.3 points per game coming in. And what's impressive is that normally when you're putting up 50-plus a game, you're an up-tempo, throw, run, go as fast as you can offense. Washington was running like 68 to 70 plays a game, and they were getting 48 points. That's insanely efficient. Well, save for one botched pass coverage by Adoree Jackson, USC's defense completely dominated them. 13 total points for Washington. Jake Browning, everyone was saying, he's the Heisman if it weren't for Lamar Jackson. Completely shut down. He threw several interceptions tonight. The defensive front seven, once again, they didn't get a lot of sacks, but they kept knocking the quarterback off his spot. And Clay Helton has been preaching that. The Pac-12 is loaded with quarterbacks. The Pac-12 is loaded with high-octane offenses. But at the end of the day, no matter what gimmicks, no matter what tricks, no matter how many plays you're running, if you lose on the line of scrimmage and you disrupt the quarterback, that offense shuts down. And it's true for an offense that runs 100 plays a game. It's true for an offense that only runs 68. But they've been preaching it all week or all season. Clancy Pendergrass, the defensive coordinator, has really got these guys fired up. And what's amazing is going into this season, this was the unit everyone was most concerned about because they had practically zero players with any starting experience. They had Cam Smith, number 35, who had started 8 games last year and then missed the rest of the season because of injury. And then nobody else really had any significant starting experience. And we thought, well, they're going to go up against Alabama and Christian McCaffrey and Stanford, and they're going to get punched in the mouth. And for the first half, they held up against Alabama. They did okay against Stanford. But now all of a sudden, they just shut down the number 4 team in the nation. And again, not getting a lot of sacks, but they're showing up when they needed to. They did get a safety tonight, though, to cap the game off. So, you know what? We're counting it. So this defensive front seven, man, it was supposed to be the weak point, but, man, right now it feels like if they play like that, they can compete with anybody.
Nick, I can do little to add to that synopsis. Jake Browning, you talked about the Heisman candidacy. He came in as one of the more efficient passers in college football and explosive in the passing game with Dante Pettis and John Ross on the outside, just completely terrorizing defenses. 17 of 36, the 2 picks that you mentioned. Myles Gaskin, who's running wild, coming into tonight, 15 for 51. The USC defense holds Washington to 276 yards. They get 6 tackles for loss. They get 3 sacks, 2 by Porter Gustin. Michael Hutchings has a big night with 9 total tackles to lead the squad. Just a complete effort on the defensive side of the ball. So you alluded to Sam Darnold's effort. He comes into Seattle. and he's just a freshman. He's taking on what most consider to be the Pac-12's best defense. Maybe the consideration will go elsewhere, south to Los Angeles after tonight. But Sam Darnold led a victory.
Yeah, and I don't think it was just a sort of a gut feeling. I think statistically Washington was the best defense in the Pac-12, or at least scoring defense, I believe. And here's the other thing about Sam Darnold. The USC didn't really have the running game going tonight. There was a weird mix of long passes from Darnold followed by short to no gain runs in the running game. Give credit to Washington's front. They shut down the run. But for whatever reason, and I had talked to the guys, the SB Nation blog for Washington, and I asked them, they've got this great defense. How do they do with mobile quarterbacks? And they said, not great. It's sort of the one thing they haven't really been able to handle. And he, pointed out some plays when they struggled against Arizona and against Utah about why they struggled. And I thought, okay, well, there's an advantage there. Well, sure enough, not only did the offensive line buy plenty of time for Darnold to pass, but Darnold would create space. He wasn't really running with his legs. He would just create time and space to throw. And then he spread the ball out. We talked about this. Spread the ball out to tons of receivers. All those NFL defensive backs, future NFLers in that defensive backfield for Washington, they're talented. But they can't cover, 6 to 10 wide receivers very well. Obviously not all in the same play, but they handled Juju Smith-Schuster pretty well. He didn't have the greatest night, but Deontay Burnett, Darius Rogers had a monster night. Daniel Motorbebe, who's, I think his name gets pronounced differently every time someone says it. But get practice. Yeah, it's spelled differently. Copy and paste. That's my trick. But this guy, they spread the ball around. Tons of receivers got in on the action. Not the greatest night running the game. I think they only had about 47 yards in the first half as a team running the football. But Sam Darnold just kept making throw after throw after throw. He made one bad decision at the beginning of the game. He threw into triple coverage, which, you had that sinking feeling like, oh, God, here we go again. The penalties and the interceptions and the turnovers. It's going to happen. But other than that, and like the very next drive, he went right back to the same guy, to the same spot of the field, kept hitting plays. It's like the guy was in his 50th or 60th start, not his, 6th or 7th. It was amazing to watch him work. Had no running game help, really. Throwing against the NFL secondary. Phenomenal job. He had a second interception later in the game, which was a very pivotal point in the game, but Darius Rogers just fell down. It was a good pass. It was a good route. It was a good decision, but Rogers fell down. Ball just kind of ended up right in the defender's hand. So he really only had one demonstrably poor decision all night. I mean, I'm sure if you went through the tape, you'd find more, but just the one interception into the triple coverage was really the only bad pass he threw all night. And that's asking a lot because that rowdy crowd and that, the teeth of that defense, that could have been a horrible night for this young man. That whole offense could have just sunk into quicksand. And sure enough, he just kind of kept making plays. The guy's got ice in his veins. It's amazing to watch.
So now it's 6-2 in the Pac-12 and 7-3 overall. USC suddenly emerges as that team that nobody wants to play. They're playing that well, but that team is going to be arch rival UCLA next week and then Notre Dame the week after. I hate the scheduling. You know how I am as a traditionalist, Nick. I like the USC-UCLA game being the last game of the season. But Nick Dempsey joining us from Conquest Chronicles on a night where I'm keeping it down with my golf announcing voice for the courtesy of others in the house. Nick, we appreciate it because it's a great breakdown. We enjoy talking USC football. Love to let everyone know that Nick and I try to get together every Wednesday night to which is becoming a better and better and more interesting conversation as we head toward postseason play.
Indeed. Thanks, Mark. Anytime.